Adam Stanheight, also known as Very Confused.
My name is Very Confused. What's your name?
Was born sometime around 1977. We don't see his birth certificate or anything, that's just based on his approximate age in the movies. When he was 5 years old, Adam met and became best friends with a young alt-rocker named Scott Tibbs. On Adam's 6th birthday, Scott stabbed him with a rusty nail. Scott claimed that he was just trying to toughen Adam up, but Scott and Adam were no longer best friends after this. But I guess they did stay in contact, or at least reconnected at some point. Not much is known about his teenage years or young adulthood, but in his late 20s, he's a photographer, taking money from private detectives and paranoid spouses to snap pictures of subjects in secret with a telephoto lens. It does sound like kind of a fun job, but it doesn't look to pay too much if his deteriorating apartment is any indication. In 2004, he's single, and his last girlfriend was a feminist vegan punk who broke up with him because she thought he was too angry. While we don't really know everything about the guy, the details we do know about him point to him being very rebellious. He seems to be into industrial metal, supports the Black Panther social movement, and even has a Cuban flag in his room, a country known for a successful revolution to overthrow the government. And he doesn't do the dishes. He's also a smoker, maybe less a sign of rebelliousness and more a sign of poor impulse control.
Yes, I'm willing to risk it. Give me that sweet cancer.
To learn how Adam's chances of survival were sabotaged behind the scenes, stick around to the end of this video. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Click the link in the description to start living a healthier, happier life. It's been a while since I initially did all my Saw horror histories. Adam was a heavily requested one that I never did, but do you guys still want it?
Yeah.
Good. Welcome to Horror History. Adam is played by Saw's original screenwriter, Leigh Whannell, who first appeared in the original Saw. No, not the 2004 movie you're probably familiar with, the original short film, Saw.5. Saw.5 is not canon. It was just a short proof of concept used to help pitch the full-length version to studios. And it establishes a few details about Adam's character that would be kept in the feature film product, like his tobacco habit and his penchant for rocking the Walkman on his way home from work. The character in Saw.5 is named David, but it's actually Adam's last name that happens to be a bit of a point of contention among fans. The original script introduces the character as 25-year-old Adam Radford, but as we know, scripts are not usually canon either. The character became known as Adam Faulkner, which is rumored to be a name used by producers and allegedly appeared on a driver's license on the old Saw website. I wasn't able to find this license in any of the archives of the website, which were surprisingly functional, but not completely functional. Websites can oftentimes be canon, especially in the 2000s when there was actual effort put into them. But this one most likely is not. For one, Adam has a California driver's license, even though he lives in New Jersey, something there is evidence of throughout the Saw series. For two, the date of birth on the driver's license is 1968, which would make Adam 36 years old in Saw 1. Leigh Whannell was only 26 years old when the movie was filmed. Some would argue that Faulkner still is the real name though, thanks to this in memoriam video posted on the official Saw Instagram page in September 2023, where he's listed as Adam Faulkner. They immediately took this down 14 minutes after posting though, leading me to believe that this was a mistake. Adam's canonical name, Stanheight, can be found on his file in the FBI headquarters in Saw 5. Whannell is actually not the only person who has portrayed Adam. In Saw X, Adam's corpse makes a background appearance, and they used an actor named Tommy Crowder. I can't show it, but the difference is not noticeable. But to understand Adam, we've got to take it back to when he was hired for his final job. It was late October 2004 when Adam was approached by a man named Bob to take some photos of a doctor named Lawrence Gordon. For this, he was paid $200 a night, which is actually pretty good for 2004. He had previously been hired by his ex-best friend Scott Tibbs to do an album cover photo shoot, but he would not survive to make that engagement, so spying on Gordon was his last gig.
You didn't show up for the photo shoot for my new album cover? I'm pretty pissed.
So Adam tailed Dr. Gordon in secret as he went about his business for a few days. On the night before the bathroom game, Adam watched Gordon leave his house and followed him to the Hotel Barfly. But Lawrence doesn't stay there for long. Later that night, Adam falls asleep in his darkroom, and when he wakes up, he realizes that the power has been cut. He uses his camera flash to try to spot an intruder, discovering this cackling Billy the Puppet doll, which he destroys with a baseball bat. I think he's the only one to actually try taking out his anger on Billy. It seems that Adam doesn't have a problem with anyone's privacy being invaded until it is his own. After hearing a noise coming from his closet, his method of using a flashbulb for illumination doesn't really do him any favors. Next thing he knows, he's waking up in a bathtub, finding himself chained to a pipe in a disgusting lavatory that he's never seen before. He doesn't realize the key going down the drain when he comes to. I have a theory about this. I think when Jigsaw's disciple, Amanda Young, helped set up the trap, she left out some kind of keychain or something that would have prevented the key to Adam's ankle chain from going all the way down the drain. We see her take it out of her bra and drop it onto Adam's chest shortly before the game begins, almost like she's trying to hide it from Jigsaw. Amanda is known for rigging her traps against the participants, and she does have an irrational hatred towards Adam, so her motivation tracks. My thought is that Adam was supposed to have the ability to find the key and roam around freely during the bathroom game, with the sliding door still locked so that he couldn't escape. If you think about it, it doesn't really change most of what we see in the bathroom game until the end, where there's even more potential evidence for the theory, but we'll get to that when we get there. Adam finds himself locked across the room from the man he's been tailing for a few days, so his first reaction is probably that Dr. Gordon found out about him and captured him. That is, until he realizes that they are not the only ones in the room. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. In Saw 7, we were introduced to the concept of the Jigsaw Survivor Support Group, something that Adam's co-contestant, Lawrence Gordon, was a part of. That may have been a good option to help him cope with his trauma in 2007, but today there are better options to get help. I'm talking about BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the online therapy matchmaker that gives you easy access to your therapist via phone call, video chat, messaging, really whatever's most comfortable for you. With my link, betterhelp.com/CZsWorld, you'll get 10% off your first month. And it's not just for survivors of serious stuff. It can also help you achieve SMART goals, like being more optimistic or just dealing with anger in a healthier way. Actually, it sounds perfect for Adam.
Make sure you're getting everything.
BetterHelp will match you to one of their 30,000 in-network therapists, just based on your personal needs and preferences. Just fill out a questionnaire and you'll be matched to a therapist within 48 hours in most cases. From there, you can schedule therapy sessions for whenever's most convenient for you. And you never have to worry about anyone trying to make you part of their Survivor's book tour.
I'm sure I speak for everyone here when I say how grateful we are to be part of your promotional DVD.
Of course, if you feel like your therapist isn't a great fit, you can switch to the click of a button with no additional cost. It's basically the opposite of a saw trap. People love this feature because it avoids the stress of breaking up with your therapist and finding a new one. Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/CZsWorld. And not only will you be helping support the channel, but you'll also be helping yourself and your wallet because you're gonna be getting 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/CZsWorld. Fix your life today. Adam first notices the man lying down in a pool of blood with a gun and tape recorder in hand.
First dead body I've ever seen. Looked different in real life. They don't move.
Ironically, Adam's body would do quite a lot of moving from film to film due to continuity error. Still, Adam plays it smart and doesn't give any indication about knowing who Dr. Gordon is, even feigning concern about someone having kidnapped them to steal their kidneys and ignorance about Gordon being a doctor. He discovers an envelope in his pocket containing a tape and uses his shirt and the bath drain to reel in the tape recorder from the old guy's hand. It's hard to say for sure, but reeling in the tape recorder with his shirt may have been an unintended solution if in fact Adam was supposed to have free roam privileges throughout the bathroom. However, Jigsaw does claim to be an expert at anticipating the human mind, so maybe this is more like a Breath of the Wild shrine. There are multiple possible solutions. Jigsaw's voice explains what he has to do to survive.
Up until now, you've simply sat in the shadows, watching others live out their lives. But what do voyeurs see when they look into the mirror?
He challenges Adam to either watch himself die or do something about it. Perhaps even more concerning, Lawrence's challenge is more direct. Jigsaw wants him to kill Adam before 6 o'clock to save his family and himself. Gordon's tape has a clue, follow your heart, so Adam is stuck reaching into the toilet with a heart on it where he's able to showcase his sense of humor despite being totally grossed out.
Anything? No solids.
Turns out he was supposed to look in the tank, where he finds a plastic bag containing 2. However, despite not being the best actor, as we would see later, he does a pretty good job of hiding the fact that there's also something else in the bag. I like his quick thinking here too. When he throws Dr. Gordon the second hacksaw, he intentionally overshoots it, giving him the opportunity to hide the photographs inside the bathtub. It's interesting how his behavior here in the bathroom game is the exact behavior that Jigsaw was trying to change. Adam was punished for spying on others while not really living his own life. I don't think Jigsaw has a problem with him being a photographer, so it must be the fact that Adam's work is all done in secret for people using fake names. As he puts it, sitting in the shadows watching others live their lives. Nothing about his covert photography job is advancing Adam's career or adding value to his life. He's just doing shady stuff for money. Now he has an opportunity to come clean. Gordon. Well, I guess nothing in this room is clean, but you know what I mean. By working together with Dr. Gordon to escape. But again, he's hiding his photographs, and in effect, hiding the true reason that Jigsaw has chosen him. He's keeping information in the dark from his partner. I have to say, it's very hypocritical on Jigsaw's part, considering that Jigsaw is quite the reconnaissance photographer himself. But that's kind of the point of the Saw saga, or as you guys like to call it, the saga. Jigsaw has a god complex and thinks he's helping people, but he's really a self-righteous vigilante, unable to escape his own human biases. I talk more about that in my Jigsaw episode. Anyway, the hacksaws are useless against the chains, and Gordon realizes that the infamous Jigsaw must be their captor, and fills Adam in on his experience with the Jigsaw investigation 5 months prior. Adam continues to play dumb and metaphorically operate from the shadows as he accuses Gordon of possibly being the one who put him here.
I'm in exactly the same situation that you're in.
Wrong. Wrong! You got one thing I don't. Information!
But remember, he's the only one actually hiding information here. As he continues to overreact, he realizes the mirror that he had broken earlier is transparent on one side, but reflective on the other. The reason I described it like that is because this is one of the most poorly titled objects in the entire English language. Many people call this a two-way mirror, even though the mirror only goes one way in terms of line of sight. It is so stupid that the Wikipedia article opens by saying, a one-way mirror, also called a two-way mirror, as if one is equal to two. Anyway, Adam calls it a two-way mirror and throws some loose objects at it to reveal a camera recording them, which again fits into the whole voyeurism theme. He seems to be more offended than Dr. Gordon, ironic because surveillance is his main gig.
I'm having a blast. This is the most fun I've had without lubricant.
It's evidence of Adam's immaturity. He doesn't have a grip on his emotions like Dr. Gordon does. We can kind of see why he got dumped for being angry. He even provokes him by asking how he can be so calm when his wife and daughter may be kidnapped as well. Dr. Gordon tosses his wallet to Adam to look at his family around 107. Not something that I would let him touch, considering that Adam's hand was in the toilet about 2.5 hours ago, but Gordon probably figured that bacteria was the least of his worries right now. And that's quickly proven to be true, when Adam discovers a photo taken by the kidnapper planted in Gordon's wallet. Again, we see Adam demonstrate secretive behavior, hiding the planted photograph from Gordon and keeping the clue to himself. It's clear that Adam has a different outlook on this game than Dr. Gordon. He sees it as a competition between the two, whereas Gordon sees it as a collaborative effort to escape. Which is interesting, considering that Gordon's the only one who's been asked to kill his opponent. I think it says something about Adam's inherent lack of trust, which does kind of track. I mean, this is the same guy who got stabbed by his best friend on his birthday a couple decades ago. Gordon's complaints about Adam keeping him in the dark give him the idea to turn off the lights and find the X, which marks the spot to a box containing a cell phone, a lighter, and some cigarettes. Someone in my Saw timeline video brought this up to try to challenge my timeline placement because the date here says September 10, 2001. However, I would argue that this must be a default date and time that this phone displays when it isn't connected to a network. You'll notice that the time says 12 p.m., but we know that that's incorrect. It's actually sometime after 1. So next time, instead of challenging me, maybe learn to read an analog clock. I'm kidding, I actually like when you guys propose your own theories in the name of science, because horror movie timelines are very important and serious business. This is not something you want to mess up. He realizes that the phone is only able to receive calls. Both subjects start to get testy, and Gordon's insistence on knowing where Adam got the idea to kill the lights pushes him to reveal the photo of the doctor's kidnapped family members. Adam claims that he hid it to spare Lawrence the agony, but I don't really believe that was his true motive, as I mentioned earlier. As time continues to tick, Lawrence proposes that the two secretly set up a scenario where they're going to stage Adam's death by poisonous cigarette. However, that doesn't work, because Adam's fatality is tested by electrocuting him to prove that he's alive. The time is now 5:37, only 23 minutes to go, and Gordon gets a call from his kidnapped daughter and wife, who tells him not to believe Adam's lies.
He knows you. He knew all about you before today.
I love how bad of a liar he is.
Who are you? You know who I am.
It's just the no eye contact and Build-A-Bear voice that gets me every time.
You know who I am.
But as he's accused of being a liar, we see his emotions get the better of him, causing him to retaliate and call Dr. Gordon out on his own lie about his whereabouts the night before. This is another example of Adam's lack of control over his emotions being a weakness. He had shown a lot of restraint to keep his connection to Dr. Gordon a secret, but it seems like he just can't help himself here. He gives his anonymity away to show up the guy that's accusing him. This leads to a role reversal, where Gordon becomes the angry one and Adam delivers this masterpiece of a line.
I did not cheat on her!
What do you care what I think anyway? I don't give a crap if you covered yourself in peanut butter and had a 15-hooker gangbang.
That quote is a fan favorite, and you can always count on Leigh Whannell's own character in a movie he's written to provide some comic relief.
Now, this custom-made camera of mine is outfitted with a small lens. Basically a hidden camera. It's not basic, and it's not hidden.
Things get kicked up a notch when time expires and Dr. Gordon goes crazy after hearing gunshots on the phone and getting electrocuted like Adam had been shortly before. You can barely hear it over Gordon's barbaric screaming, but Adam tries to reason with him and calm him down. If you couldn't hear him, he says, "I have a family too. I don't see them. That's my mistake. It's a mistake I'd like to fix." It's possible that this is the reason that Adam's clandestine photography is so offensive to Jigsaw. It's not just that he's spying on people, but it's also the fact that he's busy getting up in other people's business when he doesn't spend time with his own family. Jigsaw's motto is cherish your life, and Adam cannot cherish his life because all of his time is spent on someone else's. Again, very hypocritical because Jigsaw neglects his wife and friends to build a series of death traps to be used on other people at one point. It wouldn't be long after this when Adam's life was truly threatened for the first time when Dr. Gordon would chop off his own foot and come after Adam with a gun. Adam gets pretty freaked out when he sees that Gordon is going to attempt to cut off his own foot. Maybe a sign that he doesn't see him as a bad guy despite his earlier hostility. Or maybe he's just worried about what the doc might do to him once he escapes. I have talked before about my theory about how Lawrence and Adam orchestrated a second stage death. The first one just involved them whispering to each other, which probably didn't work because Jigsaw was the man lying on the ground between them, and unbeknownst to them, he was still alive and could hear them. This time, Lawrence crawls over towards Adam and points the gun at him, telling him he has to die. My guess is that he gives him a wink right here while we're looking at the back of his head. It's also a lot easier for Adam to give a convincing performance since being shot to death is much simpler to fake than death by poison. Dr. Gordon gives a great performance. The gap in acting skills between Dr. Gordon and Adam is probably comparable to the gap in acting skills between Cary Elwes and Leigh Whannell. Gordon fires a non-fatal shot in Adam's shoulder, and Adam impressively manages to play dead as Zepp Hindle storms into the bathroom and tells Gordon that he was too late. Then, Adam springs to life just in time to knock Zepp's feet out from under him and seize the gun before going feral and bashing his head in with a toilet lid. Throughout their time together in the bathroom game, it had been Adam's lack of trust that prevented him from sharing information and truly working together with Gordon to escape. But now, the two have established a level of trust, defeated one of their captors, and Dr. Gordon promises to get help and return for him. After his departure, Adam searches Zepp's body for a key, but instead finds a tape recorder. And I think we all know what happens next. It's one of the most iconic scenes in horror movie history.
Hello, Mr. Hindle, or as they called you around the hospital, Zepp.
Adam is horrified to learn that the man he just killed was not the mastermind, but rather a fellow victim. And he sees the old man lying in the center of the room, who he previously believed to be dead, rise from the ground and begin to stretch. But I don't necessarily know that he was leaving Adam for dead quite yet. I can't really say with 100% certainty that Adam was supposed to have free roam privileges, but it may or may not be the reason Jigsaw says this.
Key to that chain is in the bathtub.
You could interpret this as his way of saying that Adam is never getting out, or maybe Jigsaw still genuinely thinks that the key is in there and he's giving Adam a clue. If I were trying to tell Adam that he's screwed, I feel like I might say the key went down the drain, but that's not what he says. He says it's in the bathtub, present tense. Also, Jigsaw is not a good guy, but he does have some sympathy for people who never had a fair chance to win their games. The previous year, during John Kramer's barn game, Logan Nelson didn't wake up in time for the beginning of the first challenge, and John Kramer came out and saved him. Adam's situation is the same. His chance at getting out in one piece was flushed away before he was really even awake. I mean, why even put the key in there if Adam wasn't meant to get it? But I think his sympathy ends when Adam tries to reach for Zepp's gun and pop a cap in his captor. But Jigsaw strikes first with the remote that activates the electricity in his chain, making him drop the weapon. Jigsaw was still going to give Adam a chance until he redirected his anger at him. Once again, Adam's anger comes to his detriment. He should have listened to his feminist vegan punk girlfriend. That's not a sentence I thought I would ever say. With that, Adam's game comes to a close.
Game over.
So if my theory about Adam's ankle key is correct, it was Amanda's fault that he was killed. Which is interesting, because her fatal flaw also seems to be her inability to control her emotions. Jigsaw even says as much in 2006.
But her emotion is also her weakness.
In the following days after the bathroom game, so most likely late October or early November 2004, Amanda feels guilty about what she did to Adam and sneaks back into the bathroom to mercy kill him with a plastic bag. He seems to be asleep when she comes in, and when she wakes him up, there isn't much life left in him. She claims that she's going to help him before suffocating his face with the bag, and he no longer has the energy to beat her. A year later, Adam would be mentioned in a TV documentary called Full Disclosure Report, Piecing Together Jigsaw, where it's confirmed that he's still considered a missing person. That same month, his ex-best friend, Scott Tibbs, tries tries to make his own documentary, where he has different ideas about what happened to Adam.
Try to toughen him up over the years. I guess it didn't do a whole hell of a lot of good, because now it looks like he's probably dead.
On March 12, 2007, Dr. Gordon and Adam would finally be reunited. Kind of. Dr. Gordon, who had become a disciple of Jigsaw, would return to the bathroom to punish another Jigsaw disciple who had crossed him, and the chain locked around Adam's ankle would finally be removed and repurposed to confine this new prisoner. If you want to learn about his story, check out that horror history episode on the left. And if you're looking for more Saw deep dives, remember to subscribe to CZsWorld for new horrors every week, ring the death bell for all notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.